Hi, this is Sean. Welcome to this lesson. Today we're going to talk about improvisation templates, something I have spoken about before, but I thought I'd introduce you to another one. For anyone that doesn't know, the idea of improvisation, what I call improvisation templates, is that most people are trying to learn to improvise by doing the wrong things, to be honest. They're just filling time and taking all their good ideas and throwing them away, never to see them again. Whereas with improvisation templates, what we can do is take one thing and learn to put it in different places, learn to vary it, squeeze as much juice out of it as possible. Not in the hope that we'll play this in a live situation. Maybe that will happen, and that's fine if it does, but that's not the end goal. Really, for me, when I'm working with students, what I'm trying to do is get them to do two things. Number one is get used to composing short phrases, and number two is to learn to make connections between the chord changes. And those are the things that we can do live when the music's going past. And if we're not practicing ways of doing that, then we're not going to be match fit, right? We're not going to be fit when the chord changes are going past and we've forgotten everything that we ever practiced, which is what it can feel like. So let's have a look at an improvisation template and see what we can do with it. This one, we're looking at the top line here. And by the way, you don't need to learn to read music for this stuff. People sometimes ask me if I can do stuff for non-readers. This is for non-readers. There just happens to be some music on the screen, but I'll be explaining everything I'm doing. And please do, if this is your first time here, hit like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I publish a new video. And it also helps YouTube to know this is a good video and to show it to other people as well. So that being said, let's see what's going on here. On the first line, I've got a phrase over a 2-5-1 in the key of F. G minor 7, C7 to F major. That can all use the F major scale. There are different ways of looking at that, but let's just say it can all use the F major scale. What am I doing? Starting on the third of G minor, down a half step and back. Now somebody's going to say, yeah, but that's just the F major scale. If you've gone down, why are you calling it a half step? You'll see why. So down a half step, back, up the scale, and play a third. So F straight to A. Covers my G minor 7. By the way, just that phrase is something you might consider doing on G minor 7, on C7, on F major, without even going any further into this. So you started on the third, down a half step, and the interval of a third at the end. So you began on the third of the chord, but this is the interval of a third. Now if I did that on C7, this is where half steps come in, right? Because if I said scale note, if I said, oh, this A is a scale note, which it is, then this would be like this on the C7. It doesn't matter, just be something different. But I'm using a half step. Third at the top. And on F major, third of the scale. And a third interval at the top. So just doing that is good practice. Let's see if we can do it with a track. Must admit, I haven't tried that yet, so let's see. Quite good practice to do. Of course, you can vary that in a million ways. So that's one thing. But now looking at the whole template, let's see what happens. We go down a half step, play a third at the top. Now when we hit the C7, down the scale. So I said we were in the F major scale. Why are we using a C sharp would be the natural question to ask here. Because this is a very handy note on a C7, because on a C7, we have this flat 9 sound, but notice, see 1, 3, 5, 7, flat 9, but notice that I have a diminished chord, an E diminished in my right hand, which is the same as G diminished, the same as B flat diminished, the same as C sharp diminished, okay? So I'm actually going up that diminished chord at the end of the phrase and then connecting to some sort of exit on maybe an F major note. Let's see what that sounds like. Coming out on the third of F. So the whole phrase, down a half step, major third, well, scale third, down the scale, up the diminished, and then exit on the third of F. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fine. That's the beginning. I don't want to just throw that away. I want to put that on different starting points. So it gives me more practice. It gives me more of a vocabulary. It gives me more than just doing one thing, a lick from a book, throwing it away, not getting any freedom from it. And because I'm not getting any freedom by learning that phrase, then I'm not getting any skills as I actually play. It's either remember it or don't remember it. That's not what we're trying to do. That's not real-time skills, real skills in real time as the music's going past. So I started on the 3rd of G minor the first time, so why don't I start on the 5th of G minor and see if I can use the same template. So half step down and back, a third at the top, down the scale, up the same diminished, E diminished this time, and that will bring me to the 5th of F. So let's do that one again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we've got 2 ways to do it. Okay, so we did the 3rd, we did the 5th. Let's do the 7th of G minor. Down a half step, 3rd at the top, down the scale. It takes me to the diminished, same diminished. And I'm going to step down and make it an F6 type sound. Fine. And I guess the only one we didn't do is the root, which I'll put here. Let's see how that works. Down a half step, the 3rd at the top, down the scale. Now here's a problem. It doesn't take me to a diminished note. And when this sort of thing happens, you just put in an extra note. So it could be like this. Extra note between the C and the B flat, and up the same diminished, and it can come out on the F. So we've now got 4 ways of playing the same thing. Let's also vary it by doing simple things like cutting off the first note. So if I take the first phrase and cut off the first note, it'll be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, well, of course we could do that on all the inversions, so now we've got even more ways to play something. We could cut off 2 notes, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and this could go on. But you see, you start to feel points in the bar that you don't normally feel. You start to see phrases differently that you've already created. That's what it's about for me when it comes to learning to improvise. Certainly this is one part of it. Okay, let's take a look at a variation. Same stuff, down a half step, up the scale, put a 3rd at the end, scale down, same stuff, but we're messing with the diminished. When the diminished used to be straight up and exit, now the diminished is cut. There's a jump. So instead of saying, we're going like this, bottom of the diminished to the top of the diminished, down to the next diminished note, and something to get us out on an F major chord note. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, of course, ideally, we want to practice putting that on the different inversions as well. So let's try it on at least 1 or 2 more. So let's try it starting on the D. So same as before, down a half step, up the scale, 3rd at the end, down the scale, we are on the diminished note, jump to the top of the diminished, down, and a half step back. Okay, let's hear that. Okay, let's try the root. Don't know how this one's going to figure out. I think this is going to give more trouble. No? Ah, should be from the bottom of the diminished to the top. Could be out like that, I guess. Okay, the one from the G. Down a half step. 3rd at the top. Down the scale. Put in an extra note. So you get to a diminished note. Jump from the bottom of the diminished, down, And you could land on the 2 of F or 9, that's fine. This is how it would sound. So actually all of them are fine, all of them are usable. For me, they're all pretty as well. That's how you take one thing and turn it into loads of things. Of course, you could start cutting off notes and all the rest of it, doing all the kinds of things we did with the first one. So thank you for watching. I hope that's helpful. This is the kind of thing I'm doing with students at the moment. It's getting people fluent. If you're interested in this kind of thing, join me on Jazz Skills, where we have hundreds of lessons for every level of student to get you fluent and to the next step in your playing wherever you happen to be. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye for now.